Hey, Father Taylor here. And right now, my date is Thursday, the 29th. And so we are still within the 12 days of Christmas celebration. What an amazing thing that God's means of intervention in the world would be that he would come to us personally in this way, such a vulnerable, human, real way. So glad to have seen so many folks at the Christmas services. We were pretty full all three times, including Christmas morning. Saw some people we hadn't seen in years. I mean, people who had moved away and have come back, people who have moved away recently and come back. We just saw lots of folks come. And we're hoping that the Spirit of God is stirring in people's hearts to help them kind of turn back and just kind of think about the Lord and their relationship with God. That's a great invitation for that you guys get to make to be able to help people make that connection by helping them come and visit your community. So anyway, so great to have seen you at Christmas. A lot of work went into that from all those singers, all that work that Paula does, all the arrangements to do, all the bulletins that Carol does. It's a big deal. So we had a Merry Christmas and we're still enjoying it. So here's stuff that's coming up. I've just had a very quick change of schedule. And so Kitty and I are going to be flying from here to Texas. It's Sunday morning at 6, but I'm still going to be here for the sermon. How about that? The modern technology is what it is. So be present. Julie Mudge will be there. Deacon Denise will be there. It's going to be a great time to worship the Lord as we get ready to pray and think about what might God be saying to you and to us and asking us to do. And how might God be blessing us? That's the heart of the sermon, as a matter of fact. How might God be blessing us in the new year? So that's coming up this weekend. Here's some other notable things that you may not know about. About a year ago, before the market crashed, had that big dip, the vestry, in a very wise decision, took our portion out of the Brown Fund for building maintenance. Kathy Oakes has done a phenomenal job. She's gotten volunteers to do a tremendous amount of work, which of course reduces our costs. That we had some folks work last summer on some drainage problems, which have mostly cleared up by that work, thanks to Dave Damaris and everybody, Greg, who got involved in that. John Nagy got a little crew together, and he and Steve worked on the Good Shepherd window from the outside, which was estimated at something like, I don't know, $12,000, $14,000 to get that fixed. That they have a repair which they think will last about 10 years. We got some roof things that we're getting the last little bit of our roof leaks fixed. So all that kind of like glamorous stuff. But here's one really cool thing. Is with the monies that we were able to take from the Brown Fund, we are going to be able to redo the hall. What I mean by redo the hall. So even our AA group doesn't like to meet in the hall simply because they can't hear each other. It's got a terrible dynamic of echoes, which has to do with the echo between the beautiful maple floor and the hard ceiling, and then the walls. And even our room dividers, once they become painted, become great reflectors of sound. So even they can't help us reduce the amount of echo. So that's why it's so hard to hear sometimes in the hall, and why everybody likes to meet someplace else. So more than a year ago, we got an estimate from a company whose main job is the physics of how do you deal with that kind of acoustic issue. And so we're going to go ahead and do a repaint of the hall for the first time in many years. And then that starts on January 9th. I think that takes 4 days. And then shortly after that, as soon as the parts come in, a group's going to come in and we're going to put up acoustic tile in the hall. We don't put it up, they put it up. There's a whole method. And so we're going to have that installed. And they say that will reduce about 66% of all the ringing sound. You want a little bit because it sounds nice, but too much and too many contrary frequencies banging back and forth, you can't hear a thing. So that means by the middle of January, that whole room is going to be much nicer, we're praying, much nicer and able to be used for all kinds of events. including annual meeting, which is the last weekend, last Sunday in January, but also for other events. I have a bunch of musicians who are ready to come in and start to do performances. We've got some artists who have been waiting for 2-3 years now to be able to come in and do art shows in the hall. And in addition to that, all of our discipleship stuff that we do and fellowship, it's just going to be much easier to do once we get all that acoustic stuff. So that's going to be done middle of January, Lord willing. So how cool is that to get that room so we can really use it? Beautiful room. And yeah, that was part of a donation that one of the Mitchelsons did way back in, I don't know, I think the 20s. That room went in, and a beautiful, beautiful hardwood floor, which church people have maintained for years. It's a beautiful hardwood floor, but it's also one of the reasons why we have such bad acoustics. Anyway, that's going to be taken care of. We're going to be hearing about that soon. Kathy Oakes is also, I won't bore you with all of the details of how difficult it has been get decent work in on our elevator situation. But she's got a new leads on that. And so we're hoping the room comes back together. We'll get the elevator fixed. It's just going to be kind of like a really nice place to be able to do all kinds of community events, our community and the wider community. So that's coming up. Also coming up on the 10th is, you'll see this in print below, but on the 10th, we're going to have an all-church meeting. Anybody who's interested in coming in and talking about our budget will be able to come in. So we have a preliminary budget that Anthony and the vestry have worked on, and we'll be talking about that, and that'll be done prior to annual meeting. So we'll be able to, for people that are really interested, and everybody should be interested, because, frankly, the budget is the way God supplies what we need to be able to get ministry done. So it's an important thing to come in. So that's going to be a Zoom meeting. And so look for details in the printed part of your eBlast, which is in the email. So that's coming up. And so we also have on the 15th, depending on how the painting goes, on the 15th of January, that's Sunday, we are resuming our coffee hour discipleship classes. We're going to be finishing up, it doesn't matter if you missed the other ones, but we're going to be finishing up Christianity Explored, which the people have come to have really thought was great. We're going to be spending time with that. And by popular demand, we're going to be adding a little more time so that those discussions don't seem to be so quick. We also already have a follow-up to that, which will start as soon as that series ends. We have another series coming up, which is about discipleship explored. It's kind of like the next step. You become a Christian, now you become a disciple. It's going to talk about discipleship. These are great things to invite your friends to, particularly people who said, I've never really thought about, man, I've got some belief in Jesus, but how does this all fit together? So it's a great way to begin talking about Christianity, inviting people to come to that. We do need people to kind of help with the breakfast. If you didn't go to any of these, we have like a beautiful breakfast. There's all kinds of stuff which is offered, afterwards. And because of our new church time, everything was done. We're out there by 11:30. So it was a really nice morning to be together. I talked to Bishop Marcus Delgo recently, and he was saying their Christmas service they had, they kept it to 5 hours. And the way they do church over there is they often church starts with a Bible study. And at the end of this hour of Bible study, the bishop comes and tends and answers questions, or the priest answers questions that people might have. And then worship goes on. Those guys spend a day worshiping. I said kiddingly, hey, I hope you feed them. And he said, what do you mean? I said, well, it's all day there. He said, no, people want to be here. They want to be here worshiping the Lord. And then he told a story about a priest, I think he'd just come back from England, was trying to keep the services to an hour, and the parishioners complained. Wow, I didn't want to tell them that our 8 o'clock service is over by 8:45. But anyway, man, hungry for the Lord. You can be praying for them, the folks at the Kateri area, where Kateri Medical Clinic is. They just had another raid by the Fulani came through and killed people and burned down 40 homes. And so that's just the way that, a conflict which has gone on for years, and the government has kind of forsaken that section of Nigeria. So you have new elections coming up, and they're hoping that maybe they'll get a little more law and order out there. But that doesn't prohibit them from pursuing the gospel. So that's why I always love talking to Bishop Dogo, because just when I think like I have problems to worry about, start whining about that, he talks about the gospel and the power of God to change hearts and our commission as Christians to share that gospel. So it's always very exciting to hear from him. All right, so that's all I got for today. Great to have seen some of you guys at Christmas. I will see you at least virtually on Sunday, and be back by Wednesday night. So anyway, God bless you, and may the Lord continue to bless you in your lives today and for this year.